high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome one more time to Talking Catholic. This is Marianela Nunez, and with me here is your beloved host, Mike Walsh. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Marianela. How are you?
I am very well.
That is very good to hear. You look relaxed and refreshed.
Rested.
Rested. I could tell the difference already because the last couple of episodes I've re-listened to recently, and it's like I could tell that both Jen and I kind of feel a little worn down, but you've just come back from vacation, so you're still
I have the beachy boys, and, the happiness in my face and the sun on my skin.
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
I love it when people go away on vacation. I'm jealous, but I love it when people go away on vacation.
Don't be jealous. You'll be going soon.
I am.
Where are you going, Mike?
You and I have gone in two different directions. You went south for your cruise. I'm going north for my cruise. I'm going to, by the time people hear this, I will be on my way to New England, having left New York City, and then the cruise ends in Canada. So it's very nice. For someone of Canadian blood like myself, it'll be a good trip.
That's great. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm from the Caribbean. I look for the heat and, the party. So that's what I did at the Bahamas.
That's very nice. But I saw some of the pictures on your Instagram. It looked like you had a great time.
Yeah, definitely. The kids said, could we stay for 100 days? I don't think I could do that.
I've seen more than a few YouTube videos about people who now live on cruise lines. What they found was, for some of them, particularly millennials and stuff like that, who work jobs that don't require them, work remote jobs, they are able to actually live for a year on a cruise versus what they would pay in rent or something like that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little jealous of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You see, I need to do a little bit more research.
I know.
Maybe when we convert the diocese to remote work.
To fully remote work?
Yeah, do you think that would happen?
I'll tell you what, I'll talk to the boss about it. We'll see if we can convince him.
Father Hughes, think about it.
We'd all like to spend the next year on a cruise. We'll zoom in all of our meetings.
Hopefully we can measure how the performance goes.
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to be fired at sea. That's the only thing.
That would be terrible.
I want to be able to make it back. But no, I am looking forward to it. I've never been on a cruise before. I've been talking to cruisers of late, including yourself, who've all given me great tips. Yeah, I think yours was make sure I don't be afraid to pay for all the little extras, right?
Yes. And also, make sure you pre-plan your trip and how it's going to go. They have great agendas before you go. So that would be another one.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I and my son were together in front of the computer last night, actually doing that very thing, trying to figure out what excursions we want to go on, what little extras we want to do.
Yeah, people get crazy at the boat when they see those excursions and they say, oh, I didn't do it, and then they try to do it, and then they can't get to it. So do it now.
Do it now. That's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. So we're looking forward to it. I was looking out, because we're going to New England and Canada, it's a lot more sedate. It's a lot more going to, big woodland parks and things like that. They have, it's called Acadia Mountain National Park. So I was telling my son, I was trying to set the bar for him a little bit.
Yeah.
I said, think of it like a camping trip with really good accommodations and great food. That's how you need to think about it. We're going to be going into the woods. We're going to be seeing waterfalls and all that kind of stuff. But then we come back to a boat where it's 5-star restaurants. We have a balcony off the side and, 24/7 casino and gaming.
Wow, isn't that good?
I tell you, who knew that he could create such great things?
It is incredible.
So, I don't know if he gets the full benefit of getting everything, in my case, Norwegian Cruise Lines is able to provide, but I'm looking forward to it.
That's amazing. My son said, I love jacuzzis, Mom. He's 5, people.
What kid doesn't like bubbles coming out of their
jacuzzi? He wants one. I'm like, I don't think that's happening right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember my son was very young. We had friends that had a jacuzzi, and we put him in the jacuzzi, and he did love it. Anything with a water jet. Of course a young boy is going to love that. That was a blast. He just kept playing with it the whole time.
Yeah, warm water.
That's good stuff. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip and that you've come back relaxed, and, time to get into the work. Like my brain is already going away into the work sphere again, whereas I'm trying to get everything done so I can get out.
I'm diving in now.
You are diving in. Very nice. Excellent cruise reference. One of the things you're working on is certainly schools, and now we're going to have a big schools podcast.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be our last podcast before the schools podcast. I think we're going to have a week break in between, since I'm going to be away on vacation, and everybody else is working hard right now, so nobody's going to be able to fill in for us. So we're going to take a break in the podcast next week, and then the first podcast back is going to be a schools podcast with you and your colleagues from the schools department.
Yeah, that's going to welcome you back from your trip, so I'm going to get to talk to you again about the cruise and how it went. So I hope it goes so well for you.
I will absolutely let everyone know how the cruise went last time. And if you don't hear me, it probably is because I fell off the boat. But that's okay. I'm a good swimmer. It's
Come
fine.
on, Mike.
That's fine. So we're looking forward to it, and but we do want people to know, since this is going to be our last podcast for a few weeks, if you are interested in a South Jersey Catholic school or Catholic schools wherever you listen, but South Jersey specifically, you can always go to southjerseycatholicschools.org to learn more about the Catholic schools we have in this region. Right?
Yeah, we still have some spots available, and we will be happy to welcome you even that late in the year. Like, there's no time to enroll that is kind of like a no for you. Like, we're always open. We have our doors open. We have open enrollment for those who think, like, I live in Pennsauken, but the school is in Merchantville. Like, that would not be a problem. We have open enrollment policy, and we are open all year long.
That's right. And, we know there's a lot of upheaval in schools right now, in the public schools, and, what's going to be taught and how it's going to be taught and where it's going to be taught and to whom it's going to be taught. That's the great thing about Catholic schools. We have a very traditional education, it's a very standard education in the sense of what we teach, what we learn, and everything we teach is faithful. And it's faithful to the academia and faithful to our own church.
Yeah, you want to hear your kids giving you good references about Jesus, about the Bible. Catholic school is your answer. That
is right. So we have a very good podcast today. We're actually going old school with it. We're doing back in the day, I think even before we were on domestic church media, we used to do every now and again, usually in the summertime, we would do what was called a roundtable. And we would just bring some of our favorite guests in, not necessarily pitching anything in particular, just wanted to have them on the podcast and see what's going on with them. So we brought back 3 of our favorites. And with us today, we're going to go around the round table so that you can actually hear them, and they're going to introduce themselves. To my right is
Katie Comerford-Rivera, Director of Development for the Diocese.
And across from me is my
Donna Ottaviano-Britt. I am the Director of the Office of Discipleship and Leadership and lead the Secretariat for Pastoral Outreach.
Yes, you do, and you do a great job of it.
Awesome.
Peter?
Pete Sanchez, staff writer for the Star Herald and co-host of the Talking Saints podcast.
That is correct. And that's our table for today. So we wanted to kind of chat with everybody and see how everybody's doing and what's coming on. Now, I will tell you that, as usual, the hardest working person in the diocese is, in fact, Donna Ottaviano-Britt, who has been pulling her hair out left and right because she has had so much stuff to work on. So many things she's working on that I'm not even aware of some of them. All I know is she keeps getting into my Survey Monkey back end to create all these new surveys for trainings that she's doing that I'm not even sure what she's doing.
Thank you, Mike, for access to your Survey Monkey account, so I don't have to buy one.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm always happy to assist in any way I can. What are you working on in there, by the way?
There's a lot. We are a busy diocese, so there's quite a number of things that are happening. So we're doing some leadership development with the clergy in the diocese. We've had 2 runs of it and very successfully, so we're preparing for a 3rd group of priests to go through it later. So one of the surveys is to the priests who went through it this year. And then we're also doing the Diocesan Holy Hour next week, which is linked to the Eucharistic Revival. The Synod teams we had all together in June, so I'm really looking forward to gathering them again in the fall, because they have mighty work in front of them, is to really take what came out of their parish synod reports, kind of look at it or line it up with the diocesan one. And the Region 3 synthesis is done. Region 3, for those who are listening, is really all the dioceses in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So that's been put together, and now there's a draft of the national that the USCCB will provide to Rome soon.
So I want to go back and talk about the Region 3 that you worked on. You were wonderful that not only did you lead our diocesan synod team when you were asked upon to work on the Region 3 that consolidated, 13 synods from the surrounding dioceses. You were so kind to agree to do it. I'm curious, did the Region 3 differ much from what we actually saw in our own synod?
Not
report?
really. So I think if you look at the Region 3 synthesis, you can find all of our themes in there. And so I didn't have to read all 13 synod reports. Thank you, Jesus. Just because that would have been a lot. So each of the people on the synthesis team were assigned 2 to 3 diocesan synod reports, and then sort of had to share those, right? So the consolidation of the work, so a nod to the Chancellor of the Diocese of Pittsburgh, Emily, she did a great job, because you really need the synod report to have a voice, one voice.
Yeah.
You would never want anyone to read it and think that, wow, 13 people, wrote this report. So she really gave it a unified voice. But you'll find very common themes across all of the synod reports. And by the time we read the national report, I think it's all going to be very similar. We're all having a common experience in the culture, in the evolution of the church. You look at all the things that are going on, so I think you'll find the very common themes. You find the beauty, you find the pain, you find the woundedness, and the hopes. It's all there in those synod reports. So we have work to do, but we have always had work to do since Jesus was here.
Yeah.
As you did all that, Donna, how do you feel about, the hope? What is your hope after being able to write all this and work on this in conjunction with the other dioceses and archdioceses?
I think part of it is, as Catholics, we are supposed to be the people of hope. So, and I think really allowing thousands and thousands of people to come together and talk. So it wasn't just about sharing with Rome what your thoughts are. It was sharing with each other. And I really think that's what Pope Francis wanted, is for people to sit together and talk to each other and listen to each other's stories. So I'm a huge fan of stories.
You are.
And being able to tell your own story, right? Because that's part of witness. We're to share the gospel, and we tell the story of Jesus, but a lot of times we get to tell the story of Jesus through his work in our lives. So I think there's tremendous hope in the synod reports in terms of priorities and things that we can work on. Certainly the Catholic Church is not perfect. Won't be perfect until the end of time, probably. But I think there's a lot of work that we can do together in the space of being more welcoming, right? Because that was a common theme, so that people feel welcomed in their church. The other thing I would give as a caveat to anyone who reads the synod reports is it is a little bit skewed to people that are already engaged in the church. A lot of effort was made to reach to those who are not with us. They're hard to reach. They're hard to engage.
That makes sense.
To try and find them. So the synod reports are a little bit skewed to those who are at least, engaging in weekly mass or involved in some kind of ministry, et cetera. So that's a little bit of a balance to it, I think, in terms of what we find.
And, I actually want to refute you're I think you might actually be writing something. No, I don't want to refute you. I want to refute something that we saw in a local publication, actually in a state publication. It was in the Bergen Record and put out through NJ.com, or no, I take that back, through Gannett. A story about the synod that was. Don't ever read that story. I'm not even going to give you too much. I don't even want you to find it necessarily, but it's. Secular media, I don't think, has quite figured out how to report on the synod. I don't think they necessarily understand what it means. If you read this latest report I read, and it was an amalgamation of the four of the 5 New Jersey synod reports. The Archdiocese of Newark was not included in it for some reason. I have no idea why. But I read through the article and went, that is not what the reports are saying. The reports are saying that actually we know that there's work to be done, but we're actually rather happy with our faith and what it is and where it is. And we know that there are things that need to be fixed, but, we aren't necessarily focused on the culture wars right now. The synod is really to talk about the faith and what we believe in and how that falls into something else. It's weird that it's actually perfectly timed that the Synod and the Eucharistic Revival are coming out right now, because they basically, okay, this is what people want to know about, and that's the Synod. And then you have the Eucharistic Revival, which is, this is where everything comes from. This is what we're talking about when we talk about our faith. I feel like the Eucharistic Revival may, in the United States, because it's a United States only event, I think the Eucharistic Revival may go a long way to helping a lot of what we read in the Synod, where people are looking for more understanding.
So I would agree with that. And if you look at the questions that came from Rome that were to be used in the Synod, we added questions about the Eucharist because we knew the Eucharistic Revival was coming here in the U.S. Actually, the Eucharistic Revival was delayed a bit because Rome had announced the Synod. We're like, okay, let's pause. Let's do the Synod. And then so we incorporated questions about the Synod into the questions that the delegates at the parish level would ask, just so we could see, like, where should we go in the Eucharistic Revival, particularly at the diocesan level? So we're finding places, great beauty and great belief in the Eucharist as the true body of Jesus. But also what people shared is that they know maybe there's not such great formation in the last couple of generations. So people struggle, or people are challenged with thinking that the Eucharist is only a symbol. So we have tremendous, beautiful work that we can do this first year. It's a 3-year process. And the diocese owns the Eucharistic Revival at the first year. So we have many, many things planned, that will link actually directly back to what we heard in the Synod. So it's actually kind of exciting. So to Marianela, to your question around the hope, this is good. This is a great place for us to start. The Synod is a great launching pad into the Eucharistic Revival.
That's awesome.
Yes, speaking of some of the stuff we have planned in the near future, we're having a Eucharistic Revival Holy Hour, correct?
So excited, yes.
Yeah, which I sadly will not be able to go to, so you guys will have to let me know what happens.
We'll pray for you, Mike.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But where and when is it?
So it's next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock at the Christ the Good Shepherd in Vineland, so Father Junior's parish. And
Love Father Junior.
Ooh, there's going to be a lot of energy there.
Yeah. So the thing that about this is it started with, so if you go back to the Convocation of Catholic Leaders, so blast in the past, right? Mm-hmm. What we had done post-convocation is we would gather every quarter for a holy hour to pray for where did the Holy Spirit want us to go, right? So we would get probably 100, 150 people that would come, and we moved those holy hours all around the diocese. And we would have holy hour, and we would pray, and then we'd have fellowship afterward in the hall. It was a very sort of collegiate group. It was really a wonderful kind of experience. And then COVID happened. Yeah. So we couldn't gather. So just this past June, I had 2 different meetings, one with the Synod delegates and one with the Convocation point leaders. And it came up is that we'd like to go back and do that again. So I originally started planning a holy hour for Convocation delegates and Synod delegates. And then it morphed into this diocesan holy hour. We're like, why not? This must be a nudge of the Holy Spirit. So to organize it, Andres Arango will be, he'll be providing reflections. So it didn't just morph into diocesan, it's now bilingual holy hour. And Mike Beddix, who does all worship and liturgy for the diocese, he's going to lead all the music. It's really going to be a beautiful holy hour in summer. It's just a really beautiful opportunity for people to come from across the diocese and pray together.
Yeah, and just to double check, or I don't know what I'm telling you, I've decided that I can't speak right now. For dear listeners, just a little insight into what I'm going through right now. I blew out my knee on Sunday, and I've been sort of fixated on it ever since. Went to the doctors and got to go to the doctors again on Friday. So if I seem a little distracted, it's because my knee really hurts. What I was going to say was just to add a little more detail. That is Tuesday, August 23rd in Vineland. And if you want more details, you can check out CamdenDiocese.org for more details about that. And all of our Eucharistic Revival information is on there as well as the Catholic Star Herald website. And we have a dedicated Eucharistic Revival website called the Eucharistic Revival of South Jersey.org. Thank you. Which we just started putting the finishing touches on 2 weeks ago. And actually, the web guy is right behind me, about 10 feet. And we got a few more things for him to work on. But he's got a ton of resources in there if you want to understand what the Eucharistic Revival is and what it does and things like that.
This is a shout out to Adam, who's done a lot of work.
Yes,
he met with us on the pastoral floor of the Chancery last week. And we're like, we know how much you love working with us, but we made some changes. So.
No, that's the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, a website is a living organism. You can tweak it as much as you want until you get it to just the way you like it, and then you end up tweaking it some more. But that's
Mike,
what happens.
I don't know if you heard at the beginning of Donna's conversation, she mentioned she is organizing some training for clergy. Is that coming from a lady? Can we talk about that?
Yes, we can talk about that. So this all, too, comes out of the convocation back in 19, really to do some leadership development for the clergy and the laity. My office is discipleship and leadership. So we actually custom built some leadership development opportunities for the priests. It's really an accompaniment opportunity for them. And so there's a lot of great apostolates out there that do some tremendous work with leadership development for clergy and for laity. But I talked to a lot of priests in 18 and 19, talking about kind of what their needs might be. And I think sometimes if when you're working in the church, sometimes it's hard for you to go, I need this or I need that, X, Y, Z. But it really was in talking to them and kind of looking at what their day-to-day role was for me to kind of think, okay, what could we do for you that actually is good for you? It's a way that kind of pours into you and it's for you, right? So that you can be happy, healthy, holy priest. And so my questions evolved over time, and my question ultimately became, why did Jesus need you specifically to be his priest? And that's a hard question for priests to answer. They just know they had to be one, and they said yes.
They have to be a triple H priest.
Yeah, they do indeed. So how do we help them see that? And they're really, there's not a lot of people that walk with our priests, really true accompaniment. And in all of the work that we did to build this, most of us live in a constant state of affirmation deprivation. We are not affirmed, right? We are not affirmed in who we are. Most of us are affirmed by the things we do for someone else, but not who we are.
Yeah.
So we really developed this 5-month journey for priests who are accompanied by really just wonderful coaches over the course of 5 months to reveal to them who they are as children of God, and not necessarily focusing on my role as priest, but who I am. My unique skills, my unique motivations, those kinds of things, so that they can minister as happy, healthy, holy priests wherever they are assigned. So we've had 2 groups of priests to go through it. The first group was a pilot. So, fingers crossed and lots of prayers. So we didn't call this year's group a pilot. We called it a cohort. And so now we will populate cohort 3 for next year.
That's amazing. It's incredible that your office is able to kind of like connect all the dots and make sure that that's happening and guide them through, because they're holy priests, but they also need some help, and we're happy to provide it at the diocesan level. So I think that's a great work.
Yeah, and a nod to one of our pastors who actually who was probably one of the more resistant at the beginning from the pilot, who liked it so much he brought it back to his staff and his lay volunteer leadership team.
Ooh.
So he made some serious investments in them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's when Donna and I came on board, one of the marching orders we got was to, bring some modern techniques that both of us had learned in the secular world in our jobs, working for, organizations out there in the world. And this was this kind of stuff, I've been to so many CEOs get training like this, so many executive vice presidents get trainings like this. It's a perfectly normal thing to do, and all it does is benefit the recipient of the training. So I've always been a big proponent of it. I've been a part of them over the past in my prior years. Really haven't had a chance to do it in this one. It's not entirely true. I've had the chance, but I didn't like the programs that were offered to me. But if I could find a program that I really liked that's dealt with communications, I would do it in a heartbeat. But what Donna has brought to them has been an excellent program that we've got nothing but rave reviews on it. So I say this to our listeners, it's a good thing when our priests and our diocesan employees get a little extra training along the way and get a little insight into their own curiosity and what makes them tick. It's good stuff.
we're building the South Jersey, Catholic Church in such an amazing way. I think, we're trying to make sure that every priest in a diocese and every church that you go to is as well equipped as it can be. So
That's absolutely right. That's exactly what we're doing, is helping to equip these people with the ability to serve the faithful better.
Yeah, and I will share with you, Marianela, is that everyone on the third floor across the street has now gone through it.
Oh.
Right? So all the directors of the pastoral offices, the administrative assistants have been through it. So we're going to spend a day together at the end of September. We're going to go off-site, and we're going to share what we learned about each other so that actually we can sort of do a better job even of creating that complementary partnership, because we are together all the time.
I'm a little jealous right now. It's the second floor of the
I was just about to say, the schools
center.
The schools department, this sounds actually like tailor-made for the schools department to do something similar. Maybe you guys can be the next people that she works with.
Maybe.
Yeah, because Father Gormley did it in his parish. There's priests out of this year's cohort that want to do it. We're doing it now on the third floor. Almost everyone is through their journey, and then we'll all come together. And I think it's a wonderful way to affirm us in who God created us to be, not in the stuff we do. Not that the stuff we do isn't important and necessary, but who are we?
I so much love that idea.
Doesn't that sound great?
That sounds like me. I could do
the communications department will absolutely not do that, but because we have to be angry and mean. That's
no,
right.
we have to do it for Mike, Donna. Come on.
I couldn't listen. There are almost 300 episodes of this podcast. If these people don't know what I'm about yet, I have not been. I am an open book, aren't I? Everybody knows what I think. No, all kidding aside, I actually do think it's a great idea, and if we can set up time for certainly the Star Herald to do it, I think that would be great.
Awesome.
Speaking of the Star Herald, he's been very quiet over there because he's a gentleman. He doesn't interrupt people.
Listener.
He is a good listener, and he doesn't interrupt. But Pete Sanchez is here. Now, granted, he gets his own podcast that he gets to spend half of the time talking about, Talking Saints, the award-winning Talking Saints program, matter of fact.
Oh, don't forget the award-winning now Talking Catholic.
That's right. Finally, we joined your ranks.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was very exciting for us.
And it's been good. It's weird not to see Lori here, but I'll see her in a couple weeks. We're actually going to record the next round.
Look at him missing Lori already.
But it's so nice to be here with all of you today. We recorded. We did Blessed Solanus. Casey was the last one. We got another one coming up in a few weeks, and then Laura and I we got September and October planned out. So that's. I don't want to say who they are, we and later for this month too.
Yeah, no, it's always a treat when Lori and Pete come up to the vault to do a little recording, and that's when I find out who they're going to be talking about. But if you have never caught any of the Talking Saints episodes, I highly recommend it. They are great. We've run a couple of them on Domestic Church Media every now and again as a teaser. Maybe we'll have to set one of those up in the near future. But no, it's a great podcast. It is in fact an award-winning podcast. It's won Catholic Media Association awards, I think, each of the last 3 years. And it's fantastic. Lori and Pete are great together on it. Now, Pete, in addition to your podcast work, obviously you're an award-winning writer for the Catholic Star Herald, but you also did a little photography work this weekend too, because you, myself, Donna, and several of the Star Herald staff were out covering the Wedding of the Sea and the Feast of the Assumption. Yeah,
I was. If I'm butchering the song, I'm sorry, but I went all the way to Cape May. Is that how it goes?
That is how it goes.
Okay. I was thinking about that. I was in Cape May yesterday at beautiful Our Lady Star of the Sea church, which I do not go down there enough, unfortunately. But it was nice. If you've never been there to the church, it is on Washington Street. I think that's the name of it. Mm-hmm. And so I was down there for the 11 o'clock Mass celebrated by Father David Devlin. It was a beautiful Mass. And then the Knights of Columbus took Mary. There was a crowning of her in the church. And then they took Mary about a couple blocks down to the ocean. And I was waiting for Father Devlin to get in the boat, and I noticed there was a bicycle helmet there. And I said, I guess it's for him. So he can wear it. No, it was for the lifeguard rowing him out. Father Devlin didn't get a headgear. I was like, wait a minute, what about the pastor? So, no, it actually was it was a beautiful day. It was about, Mike, Atlantic City couldn't have been too far off. It was probably about 80, maybe 80 degrees.
Oh, it was
breezy.
So I was down. So just to give a little history, the Feast of the Assumption. Obviously, we all know what the Feast of the Assumption is. That was we had the vigil on Sunday, and then the actual feast day was on Monday. But in the New Jersey Shore area, this is an old Italian tradition that came from Venice. That you go out into the ocean, and the bishop goes out into the ocean, or the pastor goes out into the ocean, usually nowadays in lifeguard boats, because we like to be safe, and they give a little blessing in the ocean to make sure that the ocean and the town continue to have a fruitful union together. So I was covering events in Wildwood and Atlantic City where the bishop was at. And Donna, you were in Ocean City?
Ocean City with Father Tom.
Father Tom. And it's basically the same kind of thing in each place, but I love that all of the shore parishes have now picked it up. It used to be just in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And then it got big in Wildwood as well. And now all of the shore towns seem to have it in the last 10 years or so. I think all of them have, at least in our diocese. And it's great. It's a very fun event, like Pete was saying. You have Mass, and then there's usually a Marian procession to the ocean. And then the pastor or the bishop gets in the boat and says this, usually will occasionally either throw an actual ring or will throw a ring of flowers. Now in Atlantic City, it was the first time I ever saw them actually throw rings in. So the Venetian tradition is that the Bishop of Venice was out in a boat and a terrible storm came up. And the people on the boat were quite frightened, and in an attempt to help them, he said a prayer to God asking for calm seas, and as part of it threw his episcopal ring into the water to help calm the seas, and the seas became calm, and it was a miracle, and it brought great comfort to everybody. And it's that tradition that goes back to, I think, the year 1000, as a matter of fact. And then we brought it this way. Now, Bishop Sullivan has said time and time again he is not throwing in his episcopal ring. However, he does throw in a ring of flowers. Although I happen to be at the first time since he's been doing it, he did not go in the boat in Atlantic City. So he went in Wildwood, but he didn't go in Atlantic City. I don't know exactly why, but he's 77 years old, and you know what? I'm perfectly fine if he doesn't want to go in a boat at the age of 77, 2 days in a row. So the pastor, Father Mohan, went out, and he did the tradition, and they actually had rings this time too. So they had ceremonial rings and a ring of flowers, and he threw them both in. And I got to tell you, it was both days were absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous weather, gorgeous times.
Did you have an award-winning picture for this time?
No, that's the problem. So I did win an award for my photograph of the lifeguard boat going through the breakers a few years ago. The seas were very flat. I'm sad to say that there will be no. And I did tell Father Mohan, I said, listen, if you could fall out of the boat, that would be great too, because I'd like to be able to capture that. And he wouldn't do it.
I was thinking of you, Mike, as I was taking the photos with my measly iPhone XR.
Yeah.
I know you have the great camera, but I did think of you in that shot because as the boat was going out, I was like, I wonder if it's going to go vertical. I wonder if it's going to go vertical like Mike's was.
I tell you, every now and then.
That was a moment, Mike.
That was a moment. But you need the right seas. That might be the only time I ever get that photograph.
Well, I would never forget it. It's in my head. Picture there.
It's on my wall. I love that picture.
Yeah.
That was, but that's a great event. And you know what I like about it? It's a very festive event. It's a very fun event. Listen, the Wedding of the Sea, it's a great opportunity to bless the ocean and bless the city and its union. And, our shore communities are certainly dependent on the sea. But it's a fun event. That's not a we're saving babies event kind of thing that we do. However, I get a kick every single year when people run up with their bottles and scoop up the water and save the blessed water to use throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which, that's nice.
Some people even try to get their rinse.
It's the funniest thing, but it's great. And the nice thing is there's a evangelical element to it, because every single year people come up to me and say, what's going on? And we tell them, and then
it's witness.
It's witness. It's a great opportunity. So did you have that feeling too? There were people coming up in Cape May?
People, it was interesting. I met people I talked to a knight from the council. I talked to a couple from Wilmington, Delaware, and I talked with all these individuals from Pennsylvania, from Reading, Bristol, Center City. So from all over, there's kind of just a mix of people there. But it surprises me because I think the Wedding of the Sea is kind of if you're not a shore town, you really don't know what this is.
No.
Because I sent photos to my aunt in Alabama, who I'm close to, and she had no idea what it was in Huntsville, and I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, they don't, for lack of a better word, they don't need it, or they just don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, sure.
It's just fascinating. I wonder if it's a coastal thing too. Like if you go to churches in New England.
Well, you know what it is? It's not necessarily a coastal thing. It's a cultural thing. So it's all Italian.
Italian, that's right. Okay.
So most Italian immigrants came to the Northeast, and certainly a lot in the Philadelphia region that eventually moved down to the shore. So the shore, in the Jersey area, the shore towns have always been big Philadelphia enclaves. So that's where it all came from. As a matter of fact, if you mentioned, I think I get complaints anytime I mention the Wedding of the Sea and I don't say that it started in Atlantic City. Yeah, that's right. I read the comments, people. I see what you're posting. I'm not going to call you out by name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Is that historically accurate?
Yeah, that is actually historically accurate. So in the old days, when the Wedding of the Sea was really a phenomenon, the Feast of the Assumption and the Wedding of the Sea was really a phenomenon, there would be tens of thousands of people in Atlantic City for that event. The procession would go down the entire boardwalk. It'd be wall to wall, and Boardwalk Hall would be completely filled for the mass that would precede it. Nowadays, because of COVID, a lot of stuff dropped off. There was always a festival that went with it that was back in the St. Michael's area. So a lot of that has sort of petered off. But when I first came here, it had actually become reborn. And we had 5,000 people at Mass at Boardwalk Hall, and then a massive festival afterwards. Yeah. It was starting to come back. So that is actually the goal for next year in Atlantic City, is to bring back the festival, bring back the use of Boardwalk Hall. We did have, on Monday, we had standing room only at St. Tolentine's Church, which was great to see on a Monday at noon that we had standing room only in the church. It was wonderful.
It's a great faith, family, and food event,
It really is.
Combined. I see Carrie Janice, our wonderful host for Talking Catholic as well. She has this as a family tradition, and she's kind of like, after the Mass, you go on, and the procession, you go on and do like the arcades and things that you can do in Atlantic City with the with the family. So it's such a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, it's great when it shows up on a weekend. Mm-hmm. Although I'll be honest with you, personally, I like the midweek ones better, but only because I can find better parking. That's it.
Yeah, I did try a Maine lobster roll when I was there. I found a place afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then I picked up, I don't know Cape May at all. There's a place, Madison's Bakery.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know it.
No,
so
sure.
I got a sticky bun.
Did you have it cold or the butter one?
What? The lobster roll. It was cold. But it was still good.
I have to say, I tasted that for the first time a few months ago when I went to Boston. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
What a good thing.
Yes.
And I like the butter one.
So we're going on this cruise. My wife, that's all she wants to do is go to, they have some like big lobster clam bake kind of thing that goes over 3 hours. She's like, can we go? And I go, well, I don't eat lobster, but sure, let's go. So I'll let you know how the lobster turns out, because Maine, that's what they're famous for, is their lobsters. So,
I'm going there in September, early October. My sister lives out there, we're already planning. We're going to tap maple trees as well.
Nice.
She met somebody who owns a maple tree farm. So we're going to do that when I'm out there.
Take some pictures.
Good times.
I will. I'll bring back some maple. I'll bring back some lobster.
Lobster?
Now, I feel terrible because we have very charitable guests on this program. So Katie has been sitting there patiently for 38 minutes, and all we got to do was get her to introduce her first name and her job title. But Katie, it's so nice to see you as well.
Oh, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Sure, and congratulations. You got through a recent bout of COVID, so
yep.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You did
it.
So what's all going on with you? How's everything been?
Just still adjusting to the new role as director and loving every second of it. So that's been a really good opportunity for me to kind of branch outside of the house of charity of it all, because as associate director, that was my main priority, my main job. So to kind of see the other elements of the department and spearhead those has been so much fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to work with you. Obviously, I've had the benefit of working with you when you were an assistant director, and prior to that on Catholic Strong, our big campaign. But it's always lovely to have you in the building, and you're one of these people. I have an open door policy of which all of these people at the table have at one time or another darkened my door. But Katie's always the kindest when she comes through, so I smile when she shows up.
I try to text you to prepare you for it, though.
And I appreciate that. That is very kind of you. She's very generous. She's a good colleague. I have to encourage all of you to become your best friend should really be Katie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling
The second he says yes, though, in 0.5 seconds, I'm in his door.
That's true.
So.
She's very quick. She's also very prompt. She's very nice. She very rarely cancels
She's texting
meetings.
you from down the hall.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it takes.
I will say Katie's the most smiley of anybody in this building. No, really. I mean, you just brighten my day.
Oh, thank you so much.
That is true.
I mean, it's easy when you work with people like you guys, so.
Wow, it's hard to believe she's in financial development, fundraising.
Yeah.
So, she's got a net. She's very smiley, very kind, and suddenly you've been separated from $10,000.
Well, that's the personality you need to get, people to understand the importance of giving.
Exactly.
That is true. And actually, you're in the midst of our biggest giving program at the moment, right?
Yeah, House of Charity. You know, it's going great. Still, it's just a humbling experience every single year to see the generosity of the parishioners in the Diocese of Camden. Because with all that's been going on, it's nice to see that they're still donating to the campaign. I know that times have been hard, especially with the economy. So the generosity has definitely been something that our whole department has been grateful for. And, the continuous support, there are people that have been giving for the last 20 years every single year, So for me, that's my favorite part, is getting to know those people and why do they continue to support.
You were talking about the Synod, and you certainly get plenty of feedback. What kind of feedback have you gotten from parishioners about things that they might want to see changed or improved, or that they'd like to see their money used for? Anything stick out in your mind?
You know what? Not much specifically, but I do hear a lot about Catholic education, Marianela.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of people want their money to go to, and then vocations in particular.
People.
Yeah, but nothing specifically from the Synod. Surprisingly, we haven't gotten any response.
It's still early on yet from the Synod.
I'll keep my ear out, though, and that could be something that I include in my spiel when I speak to people, too, when they just have general questions, or if I'm calling them to thank them, just kind of getting feedback on what they want to see more of.
Well, you brought up a good topic in vocations. I've had the blessing of spending a lot of time around the seminarians over the last 2 weeks. We announced a new seminary in our midst, Vincent Iselta, who's from the Hamilton or Vineland area. Great kid, very tall, blonde hair, just looks like right out of central casting for a future priest. And couldn't be nicer. Family is absolutely fantastic. He was just announced just a few weeks ago in August, where he had a special mass where all the seminarians went off on retreat. That's why we have that particular mass. It's our new seminarian mass. So we currently have 8 seminarians. We have 8 because we just had 5 become priests, which is great. So we're going to have an off year next year, but God willing, the year after, we'll have another new priest in our midst. And then a few of these are a little further down the road. Now, Bishop Sullivan has been very adamant about this. He'd like 50 new seminarians within the next 10 years. So if you could all start getting on that, that'd be great. If you see a young man in your midst that you think would be a good seminarian or a good priest in the future, talk to them about it. It doesn't just hoping and praying sometimes isn't enough. Sometimes, they hear the call of God, but they may need a little bit more to that. And that's on us. Now, we appreciate everyone giving their money towards the House of Charity, which helps support our seminarians, but each of us in our own way needs to pull someone aside every now and again. Have you ever thought about being a priest? But the seminarians were at all the Wedding of the Seas, and they are adorable. That's the only way to describe them. They are absolutely adorable. Everyone flocks to them. Everybody wants to touch them, want to get pictures with them. They get selfies all the time. It's actually remarkable. They may be, no, I was about to say they're more famous than Bishop Sullivan. That is not true. But people do flock to them as much as they flock to Bishop Sullivan.
Oh, I can't wait to meet them.
It's kind of like when you have a baby. It's like new baby smell. It's like almost pre-smell. They're like just...
I was just gonna say the baby thing, but I was like, maybe that's not appropriate. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. I opened up the door for you.
Like growing the baby priest.
But they're still in the gestational period, but they're so earnest and they're so lovely, and they love to help people and they love to talk to the people. You know, if you see a seminarian in your midst, or if you have one at your parish, or if you're visiting and they're working a priest or a bishop's mass, you know, by all means, come up and encourage them. You know, in addition to wanting people to become priests, we should encourage the ones that we have in the system now. And let's face it, we should be encouraging the ones that are currently working that job, because I got news for you. It gets a little more difficult when you move from seminarian to priest, as Donna has learned in many of her tutorials with the priests. You know, sometimes they have moments, you know, and they need the support of their parish.
Well, they're like us.
They are.
They are like us. They're people like us.
I hope they're nicer than me.
Bad days. Yeah. Many of them are, actually, Mike. I can attest to that.
Good to know.
But I think even the why people gravitate to the seminarians is because it looks like hope.
Yeah.
Right? So the question that you asked earlier, Marianela, is like, there's the hope. Yep. Because without priests, we have no sacraments. So we need them. They need us to pray for them. The ones that are in formation now, the priests that we all have now, we really need to pray for them.
Yeah.
You know, because we really do need them.
And in our area, you know, this is something not to be trifled with. I mentioned this at the very end of the last podcast, but you know, Bishop Sullivan announced a new decree that's altering mass schedules in our parishes, and it's going to be completely based on priest availability. So if you are this doesn't go into effect officially until July 1st, 2023. But if you're in a one priest parish, you'll be limited to three masses on a weekend, one on Saturday, two on Sundays. So if you've been overworking your priests for a lot of years with a lot of extra masses, and it's for their benefit, the priest's benefit, but it's also for the parish's benefit. It's not good to have masses where 15 people are there. Consolidating, we're supposed to go to mass in community. We're supposed to be there together. That's part of the gift of it, the joy of it. And now, the pastors may disagree with me on this, but I also think there's a benefit to going to different parishes from time to time, because let's say I have young kids, you have young kids. Sometimes you can't make, depending on sports schedules or anything like that, you might not be able to make it to your usual 10 a.m. mass. So you need to go to the 6 p.m. mass 2 towns over or town over. I've actually found that beneficial. I love going to other churches.
Now, like other churches.
Yeah.
I really want to go to Haddonfield right now. Like there's this.
You want to go to Christ the King in Haddonfield?
No, there's what's the other one? St. Rose of Lima Church.
Oh, St. Rose of Lima Church.
I looked at it online and I was wowed by it. I was like, what a beautiful church. So what that gives you is the opportunity to get to know other, churches and how they are and experience that as well.
I've just figured out the difference between you and I.
What is it?
You think that church is beautiful.
I had never been in person, so I want to see it in person.
Okay.
I'll tell you how it goes.
I will tell you that I've talked to a lot of people who were
so big.
Either parishioners there or had been priests there, and I do seem to be the only one that complains about it.
Okay.
No, it is big. It's
now
actually
you're going to make me really go.
No, you really should go. See, it has really great stained glass.
Yeah.
But well, you know what? I'm not going to say anything more. You go and then tell me what you think of it.
Let's do it.
Well, I'll tell you. From a little birdie told me that Bishop is planning on going to that school sometime in the first week of school. So you need to make sure that you're available to go there and see what it's like.
I'll ask the boss.
Yeah. Ask the boss if you can tag along, because and then you can let me know what you think of the church.
Awesome.
Because Pete has already commented on the prettiest church in the diocese, which is, in fact, Our Lady Star of the Sea in Cape May. It is absolutely my favorite church to go into in the Diocese of Camden and Cape May.
Just like, I love it. It's there's a beautiful stained glass of the Assumption right there on the right-hand side. I like it, too. It's right in the middle of the action. it's right there on Washington Mall.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's just like, I think the first time I was there, I was like, this is amazing. This is the only church I know that's really right among everything.
Yep.
It's such an
You can go to
evangelical.
the Ugly Mug across the street. There's a ton of restaurants and
Yeah.
bars and shopping. It's the most perfectly located church as well.
I think
And-
we should do a podcast about describing the different churches around the diocese.
Actually, that just got me to thinking. You two both have to travel around the diocese a lot. Are there churches in the diocese that you find particularly attractive?
Holy Angels is beautiful.
Okay, so in Woodbury, so
Yes.
you're talking about St. Patrick's Church?
Yes, yes.
I was married in that church, and I agree completely.
I love it.
I love that church.
I love Holy Angels and I love Our Lady Star of the Sea. But I have a fondness for some of those older, beautiful type of churches. There is also another category of churches in this diocese that you wouldn't want to do a function in. Can I just say?
Well, the 70s took place everywhere, and something
They did indeed.
you can always tell where the 70s churches are. Rosalima was not a 70s church. I think it was a 60s church.
Okay.
And it's got that look to it, which is I'm not a fan of. But the people who grew up around that church, they absolutely love that church, and it does have spectacular stained glass. I have to say, yeah, it
I
does.
feel like I need to do some research about what went on those years and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nothing.
I wasn't born here, so I don't know the history too much.
They were painful years architecturally.
Okay,
But I
okay.
might be. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority about that. I don't know. But we'll
I'll
see.
talk to Donna.
You know what?
after
Actually,
this
what it
podcast.
looks a little bit like. Actually, you know what it looks a lot like? It's very similar to St. Anthony at Padua Church in Camden.
Oh,
Oh no, I'm sorry. St. Joe's Pro Cathedral in Camden. It's very similar to St. Joe's Pro Cathedral in Camden. They have a slightly different sanctuary, but when you go in, you may see some similarities between the two.
okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, I was about to make a terrible comment or question.
Don't,
Do you want
Mike.
to talk about our least favorite churches? No, we shouldn't. Although I was in St. Nicholas the Tolentine Church. All of the Atlantic City churches are really very nice. St. Nicholas the Tolentine is certainly probably the most imposing one. It's this beautiful, I guess, Baroque style church. It's tall, just incredible designs on the inside. Really, really well done. Then they have their own Our Lady Star of the Sea church, which is more of it's wooden. It actually feels like a seafaring church. Like it feels appropriate at the near the beach. And then the third one is very Italian. That's St. Michael's Church in the Ducktown section of Atlantic City, which when you walk into it, you're just blown away by how pretty it is. And it looks like it has this incredible marble on it, and it's actually all painted. But the painters did a spectacular job simulating marble, so when you walk in, it looks great. But it's kind of like a row home. You wouldn't necessarily know it was a church because it fits into all the nearby structures, and then you walk into it, and it's this beautiful structure,
I had no idea that was painted.
painted marble.
No, and yeah, there's a church where Father Matthew Weber is, and it may actually be the Church of the Assumption. Clearly
Yeah,
done by
in Bridgeton.
Italians.
Yeah.
Just a gorgeous, gorgeous church.
Yeah.
Even the balustrade that goes up to the choir loft is marble.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
We've been talking for a while now about doing a YouTube show just on architecture of a lot of the churches in the diocese.
I love that idea.
And you know what? I forgot. Our Lady Star of the Sea is the second most beautiful church in the diocese, per my eye. The number one is still St. Joe's Polish Church in Camden.
Yeah, I was going to mention
That looks like it was picked up out of Italy and dropped in. I mean, the painting is beautiful. It's incredible. You can, if you drive up 676, you see this green spired church, and it's eye-catching even from the outside. And then you walk into it, and it's ridiculous how it's not the cathedral. I will never know.
No, and what I love it too is the relics all along the altar railing.
200 relics.
They have 200 relics. See, I didn't even know how many. I just knew they had a lot.
200
so
relics.
Wow.
it is awe-inspiring.
And a great shrine to St. John Paul II as well in there.
The Pope came
And-
to that. Did the Pope come to that? I think.
I don't recall if he came to that church. I know when he was in Philadelphia, he was nearby, but I don't recall if he actually went to the church or not. Yeah,
They have-
But it's a great shrine to him.
They have another amazing thing there. I have video on my phone, but I don't know if I can. I wish it'd be better to show you. I can't show everybody here, but there's a tableau, like a Christmas tableau, mechanical, all handmade. It's amazing. It is. It paints the Christmas scene. So it's gorgeous.
Well,
Wow.
You know what? We will have to get back to that during the Christian time, or we'll have to have a backup roundtable because, quite frankly, Katie didn't talk enough, and that's on me as the host, and I should have done a better job with that. So, Katie, you're invited back anytime.
I would love it, but I learned so much, and it was great to hear, especially all that you do, Donna. It's so much, very, very impressive. So I enjoyed it.
Well, to all of our guests, thank you for joining us, and Marianela, thank you for co-hosting, and to all of our listeners, thanks for checking us out, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. See you, everybody.